Joe Maddon sounded off over the weekend in the Tampa Bay Times, and this was pointed out. I didn't even realize that. They got off to a pretty good start. Looked quite good. Joe Maddon was fired, though, when they hit the skids, 27-29. They've been worse since, 25-40. So here's what he had to say, among other things, to the Tampa Bay Times. When people keep blaming the dugout for a lot of things they're seeing, they need to understand they shouldn't be doing that because the manager has so many voices in the back of his head by the time the game's begun. It's not his game like it had been. It's absolutely the front office's game. It's at the point where some GM should really just put on a uniform and go down to the dugout. Don't tempt me. I'll go down there. Or their main analytical membrane. I like that. He should go down to the dugout. There's something that should be done because they try to work this middleman kind of thing. We've seen that with a liaison who goes from the front office down to, and usually it's an ex-player. Finishing up by saying, and what happens is when the performance isn't what they think it should be, it's never about the acquisitional process. It's always about the inability of the coaches and managers to get the best out of a player, and that's where this tremendous disconnect is formed. All right, look, we're going to get a take on that with what Joe Maddon had to say, but I think he's onto something with what we're looking at with where performance maximizing is happening and player acquisitioning, where you get the correct players to be put in a position to succeed. What are your thoughts, Dan, on what Joe said?
I agree completely with Joe. Everything that he said, I agree completely with. How it should work is when the analytical group presents data that is so telling of a story that the club needs to address, but it can't be addressed by the analytical group. It needs to be addressed by a person on the coaching staff that has embraced that concept.
It seems like he was missing that guy. He even called it the membrane, like the whoever the liaison getting from baseball ops to him.
It has to be a guy in the coaching staff because the guy in the coaching staff should have the respect and the trust of the player that he's working with day in and day out.
Or
sounds like they didn't have that in place.
Or hopefully, sorry to cut you off,
That's okay.
It gets good enough where the baseball ops kid, whoever that is, can say,
eventually,
hey, I see what's happening
just
with
that has to happen organically over time.
Yeah, I'll say it's a little ironic because Joe Maddon came up in the all-time analytic team, the Rays, and he was at the forefront.
He was an outside-the-box thinker.
Yeah, I mean, all the shifts, and they won so many more games than we ever thought they would have, and still are doing that. So it's a little interesting that Joe Maddon is the one now with this opinion. There's probably some truth to it. It is funny, the Angels have had that real disconnect going back to Socha and Dipoto.
That's a good point.
That was one of the all-time disconnects. This was a little bit friendlier than that one, and you know, obviously didn't work for whatever reason. You got to, as Dan has always said, you've got to have that symbiotic marriage type relationship with the GM and the manager, and it's not easy. I mean, usually there's always going to be some conflict, but you know, this was not a good one, obviously.
And normally when I see quotes like this, I'm always thinking, oh, come on. It's a collaborative process. You've got to get better at it. But I think actually what Joe Maddon is saying actually is playing out in another place. Let's go back again on MLB Now. This was August 2nd on a program that we did here. Robbie Grossman is a veteran with a good track record. He's 32, having a lousy year for the Tigers, but the previous 2 seasons, he had a 117 OPS plus, and he's known for his plate discipline. StatCast, powered by Google Cloud, Grossman's chase rate this year is 4th best in the majors, just behind Juan Soto. Also, remember what happened to Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler last year when they went to the Braves. If a club can fix a guy, it's the Braves. And guess what happened? Robbie Grossman went to the Braves, and Robbie Grossman has been fixed by the Braves. Take a look at Kevin Seitzer. We have quotes here from Kevin Seitzer, who said this in The Athletic. Our analytics guys upstairs have this program that can break down with stick figures and measurements and movements of every part of his body, his load and his swing from year to year. Again, this is the Braves hitting coach getting this information, former Major League player. And so we did a comparison, had a meeting right away with him. He'd been scuffling with the left-handed swing all year. We showed him some stuff, got the ball rolling. Along the way, trying to get some tension out of his upper body. It's interesting. So already, Kevin Seitzer, ex-player, is working like his dynamic into what the baseball ops guys had found. So here's Brian Snicker, who speaks about it as well. Oh, go Robbie Grossman first. So Robbie Grossman says, I've been searching all year to recreate what I've done the last couple of years. I've been able to do that in the last 2 weeks, so I'm excited. I just feel lucky I'm over here. They're giving me an opportunity to show me the things that are helping me out. What exactly did we just say? Just some things with my bat path and my hands. Been trying to search for it all year. It just kind of clicked for me. A light bulb that went on in my head. I feel lucky that I got to help that I did here. Wait, there's more. Brian Snicker saying they found something in that left-handed swing. It's been really good. This is good that our analytics identifies it, and Seitz is really good about being able to communicate that to a player. Then the guy's got to buy into, and Grossman did from the beginning. I guess when you present good information, it's hard not to. The guys want to do well. Robbie, he's been very open to everything they had, and he's done pretty good with it. That's a whole thing. It's a whole recipe right there.
And there's no more of it old school staff than the Atlanta Braves.
Right. What do we
they're
think
traditional
of the
thinkers.
culture? Right.
Yeah,
right,
they're traditional thinkers that now have married the ability to look at players from a biomechanical standpoint, because that's what it is. Stick figures are biomechanical standpoint, relayed down to the coaching staff, who now they already have a relationship with. And then it's presented by Seitz in a way where the player can understand the language of the biomechanical breakdown as it relates to that player's swing mechanics. That's like ideally how it's done.
His OPS plus was 75 with Detroit. It's 116 with Atlanta. And you could see, I know it got very wordy in all of there, but you see from baseball ops to Kevin Seitzer to Snitker to Grossman himself, everybody working together. That's how you win these games.
Yeah, that's an example where the front office and the coaching staff have a great rapport. They're able to communicate with each other, and the coaching staff is able to communicate with the players. I think the Braves coaching staff is fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm old, but
Me too.
I mean, Walt Weiss, Dan hired him in Colorado. I think he's going to be a manager. Ron Washington, I mean, these guys are working their you know what? They are a really good coaching
staff.
What a competitive advantage it is, because now they identify a player, think about this, that's having a really awful year. So the acquisition cost to get that player is not somebody who's at the top of the market. They're getting similar or better production out of him than the Yankees are out of Benintendi.
Oh, better.
Better, and the Yankees acquisition cost on Benintendi was maybe 3-4 times as much as the acquisition price that the Braves paid to get Grossman. So, honestly, that's how it should work, and that's why the Braves are one of the better-run organizations in the game.
You're right, and I'm glad, because, right, when you think Braves, think culture, and something we say, like, they're better on the field. They play as a team, and that sounds like some old-schooly nonsense, but when you're there and you have a conversation with Walt Weiss or Wash, you hear all these things are working together. That's why they're usually more than the sum of their parts. All right.